I logged into our joint bank account to pay the mortgage and saw a balance of $127.43. Not $127,143. Not a missing comma. $127.43. The account that yesterday had $186,000, my inheritance from my father, combined with our savings from 15 years of marriage, was gone. All of it. Transferred out in a single transaction at 2:47 a.m. while I slept 3 feet away from the man who'd emptied it. The memo line read simply, "For us, baby, I'm so glad you're here." If you're watching this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and tell me in the comments where you're listening to my story from. I want to know how far it's traveled. Because what happened next, the IRS audit I triggered, the mistress who had no idea she'd received taxable income, and the federal charges my husband never saw coming, turned my devastation into the most satisfying revenge I could have imagined. My name is Victoria. I'm 43 years old, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a certified public accountant. Yes, an accountant. Which makes what my husband did even more insulting. A mother of 2. And until that March morning when I saw that bank balance, I thought I understood my marriage. I thought I knew my husband, Richard. I thought our life together meant something. I was catastrophically wrong. I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, coffee going cold in my world's best mom mug, a Mother's Day gift from my daughter Sophie, and I refreshed the bank page 3 times. 4 times. 5. The number didn't change. $127.43. The mortgage payment was due in 2 days. Our property tax was due next week. Sophie's college tuition payment for next semester was scheduled to auto-pay in 10 days. All of that required money we no longer had. My hands shook as I clicked through the transaction history. There it was, $185,172.57 transferred to an external account I didn't recognize at 2:47 a.m. on March 15th, 2 days ago. I'd been asleep. Richard had been, where? In his office, apparently, draining our life savings while I dreamed. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Richard, coming down for breakfast like this was a normal Wednesday, like he hadn't committed financial homicide while I slept. He walked into the kitchen, already dressed for work in his gray suit, the one I'd helped him pick out at Nordstrom for his promotion last year. He smiled at me. Actually smiled. "Morning, babe. Coffee ready?" I looked at him. This man I'd been married to since I was 28, the father of my children, the person I'd trusted with literally everything. "Richard," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "Did you transfer money out of our joint account?" His smile flickered. Just for a second. Then it was back, easy and convincing. "What? No, why?" "Because there's only $127 left. Everything else is gone." He frowned, walked over to look at my laptop screen. He was good. I'll give him that. His confusion looked genuine. "What the hell?" "That's impossible. Did we get hacked?" "Did we?" I asked, watching his face carefully. "Must have." "Jesus, Victoria, why didn't you call the bank immediately? We need to report this." He pulled out his phone, started to dial, and I knew he was putting on a performance. The way his hand moved just a little too slowly, the way his eyes darted to the door, calculating. This wasn't shock. This was theater. "Richard," I said quietly, "where is our money?" "I don't know." "I'm calling the bank right now to find out. Where is our money?" He stopped mid-dial. Our eyes met, and in that moment I saw him make a decision. He could keep lying, or he could confess. He chose wrong. "Victoria, I don't know what you're implying, but I'm insulted that you'd think—" I stood up, closed my laptop. "Get out!" "What?" "Get out of this house right now. Don't come back until you're ready to tell me the truth." "You're being crazy." "I'm trying to help fix this. You stole our money." I said it flatly, certainly. "You transferred it somewhere at 3 in the morning. For someone named Baby. So get out, Richard. Get out before I call the police and report you for theft." His face changed then. The mask dropped. What replaced it was cold, calculating, almost mean. "You can't report me for theft from a joint account. It's legally my money too." There it was. The confession. The admission. My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice level. "Get out!" He grabbed his briefcase, his car keys. At the door, he turned back. "This marriage has been dead for years, Victoria. You know it. I know it. I met someone who actually appreciates me, who doesn't spend all her time focused on spreadsheets and tax codes. I deserve to be happy. Then he left. I stood in my kitchen, alone, and I let myself feel it for exactly 2 minutes. The betrayal, the rage, the humiliation, the terror of how I'd pay our bills, our mortgage, Sophie's tuition, Max's braces. Then I dried my eyes, opened my laptop, and I did what I do best. I went to work. First, I downloaded every bank transaction from the past year, every statement, every transfer, every deposit and withdrawal. I organized it all in a spreadsheet. What can I say? I'm an accountant. The $185,872.57 had been transferred to an account at a different bank. I called that bank, pretending to be confused about a transfer my husband and I had made. The customer service rep was sympathetic, but couldn't give me account details without proper authorization. However, she did confirm that the account was a personal checking account, not a business account, and that it had been opened 3 months ago. 3 months. Richard had been planning this for 3 months. I called my best friend, Denise, who's a lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer, but she knew people. Den, I need help. Richard emptied our bank account. What? How much? Everything. Over 180,000. My dad's inheritance. Everything. Denise swore, colorfully. That bastard. Okay, don't panic. I'm calling Patricia Lyons right now. She's the best divorce attorney in Charlotte. She'll take you today. Patricia Lyons' office was in uptown Charlotte, all glass and steel and expensive leather furniture. Patricia herself was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car payment. She listened to my story without interrupting, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she said simply, "He's an idiot." Excuse me? Your husband is an idiot, cleaning out a joint account right before a divorce. Any decent lawyer will crucify him for that. You'll get it back, plus damages for the financial harm he caused. How long will that take? Months, maybe a year if he fights it. I don't have months, I said. I have bills due next week. My daughter's tuition payment in 10 days. I need that money now. Patricia nodded sympathetically. I understand. We can file for emergency relief, try to freeze his assets, force him to return the funds. What if there was another way? I interrupted. A faster way? What do you mean? I leaned forward. I'm a CPA, I know tax law. If Richard transferred $186,000 to another person, his mistress, presumably, that's a gift. Gifts over $18,000 are taxable. Either he pays gift tax on it, or she claims it as income. Either way, the IRS gets involved. Patricia's eyes widened. You want to report him to the IRS? I want to report an unreported gift, which happens to be true. He gave someone nearly $200,000 without properly documenting it for tax purposes. That's tax fraud. Victoria, Patricia said slowly, a smile spreading across her face. I like how you think. But you need to be very careful. IRS investigations take time too. And if you're doing this for revenge... I'm not doing it for revenge, I said. I'm doing it because it's illegal to give someone $186,000 without reporting it. I'm a CPA. It's literally my professional obligation to report tax fraud when I become aware of it. That wasn't entirely true, but it sounded good. Patricia laughed. Okay, let's file for divorce first. Then you can do what you need to do with the IRS. But Victoria, understand, this will get ugly. Richard will fight back. This could take over your life. He already took my life, I said. My savings, my security, my marriage. I'm just taking back control. I filed for divorce that afternoon. Patricia's paralegal served Richard at his office. Yes, I made sure it was public, made sure his coworkers saw. Small revenge, but satisfying. That night, I sat down with Sophie and Max. Sophie was 19, home from UNC for spring break. Max was 16, more interested in his Xbox than family drama, until I turned it off. Mom, he protested, we need to talk. Your father and I are getting divorced. The silence was deafening. Sophie's face crumpled. What? Why? I could have lied, could have given them some gentle version about growing apart, but they deserved the truth. Your father emptied our bank account and gave the money to another woman. He's been having an affair. Max stared at me, his teenage bravado gone, looking suddenly young. Dad did that? Yes. Where's our money? Sophie asked, practical like me. I'm getting it back. It might take some time, but I'm getting it back. How? Max asked. I smiled. Let me worry about that. You two just focus on school and being kids. Well, kid and young adult. I amended, looking at Sophie. This isn't your problem to solve. But Sophie, my brilliant daughter studying accounting just like her mom, was already thinking. Mom, if Dad gave someone that much money, that's a taxable gift. Did he report it? What do you think? Sophie's eyes widened. Mom, I'm going to follow the law, I said, which requires reporting certain transactions to the IRS. Oh my God, Sophie breathed. Dad is so screwed. Language, I said automatically, but I was smiling. Over the next week, I became a detective. I went through Richard's things, the stuff he'd left behind when he moved out to God knows where. I found receipts. Hotel receipts for places in Charlotte, always the same hotel, always charged to his personal credit card that I'd never monitored because I trusted him. I found jewelry receipts. A bracelet from Tiffany's for $8,400. Earrings from another boutique for $3,200. I'd never seen these pieces. They weren't for me. I found restaurant charges. Expensive dinners at steakhouses and Italian places. Always for two. Always on weeknights when he'd told me he was working late. I documented everything. Every receipt, every charge, every lie cataloged in my spreadsheet. The affair had been going on for at least 8 months based on the evidence. Probably longer. Then I did something that might have been legally questionable. I accessed Richard's email. We'd always known each other's passwords. He'd never changed his. Probably because he didn't think I'd bother looking. I was the boring wife after all. Too focused on spreadsheets and tax codes to notice my husband was living a double life. His emails were a goldmine. Messages to A that made my skin crawl. Can't wait to see you tonight, my love. You're the only woman who's ever really understood me. Soon we'll be together forever. And then, the message I needed. Just transferred the money to your account. All of it just like we planned. Now you can finally open that boutique you've been dreaming about. This is us starting our life together, baby. No more hiding, the boutique. She was opening a boutique with my money. More digging revealed her name. Amber. Amber Sinclair, 28 years old, aspiring fashion entrepreneur. Her Instagram was public, photos of her in designer clothes at expensive restaurants posing in front of luxury cars. Recent posts showed her looking at commercial real estate, talking excitedly about her new business venture. She was using my inheritance to start a business. I took screenshots of everything. The emails, the Instagram posts, the bank transfer confirmation that Richard had helpfully saved in his sent folder. Then I prepared my IRS report, Form 3949A, Information Referral. Used to report suspected tax fraud. I filled it out meticulously, including Richard's full name, SSN, and address Amber. Sinclair's full name and address, found through public records. Description of the suspected fraud. Unreported gift of $185,877. On March 15, 2024, from Richard Morrison to Amber Sinclair. Gift exceeds annual exclusion limit of $18,000 and appears to be unreported on gift tax return. Form 709. Recipient may have also failed to report as income if gift was in exchange for services. I attached documentation. Bank transfer records. Emails showing the money was a gift for her business. Proof that no gift tax return had been filed. I checked public records. I submitted it online and got a confirmation number. The IRS takes these reports seriously, especially when they're well documented and involve large amounts. Then I waited. Divorce proceedings started. Richard showed up with his own lawyer, a slick guy named Brad, who tried to argue that the bank account money was Richard's separate property because he'd earned most of it. Patricia demolished that argument. Your client transferred nearly $200,000 from a joint marital account without his wife's knowledge or consent, in the middle of the night, 2 days before being served with divorce papers. That's textbook financial fraud in a marriage. My client is entitled to half of all marital assets. Brad started. Half? Yes. All no. He took everything. Mrs. Morrison is entitled to reimbursement, plus damages for the financial hardship his actions caused. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Chen, looked at Richard with undisguised distaste. Mr. Morrison, Did you or did you not transfer $185,172.57 from a joint account to a third party without your wife's knowledge? Richard shifted uncomfortably. I transferred money from my own bank account. A joint account, Mr. Morrison. That means it belongs to both parties. Answer the question. Did you do this without consulting your wife? Yes. And where is this money now? Silence. Richard looked at Brad. Brad looked at his notes. Neither answered. Your Honor, Patricia interjected. We believe the money was given to Mr. Morrison's paramour, a Ms. Amber Sinclair, for the purpose of starting a business. Judge Chen's eyebrows rose. You gave your girlfriend your wife's inheritance money? It was my money too. Richard protested. Stop talking, Mr. Morrison. Judge Chen was not amused. I'm issuing an emergency order. All of Mr. Morrison's assets are frozen, effective immediately. He is ordered to return the full amount to the joint account within 30 days, or face contempt charges. This is unconscionable behavior. Richard's face went red. Brad scribbled notes frantically. Patricia squeezed my hand under the table. But I knew Richard didn't have the money anymore. He'd given it to Amber. And Amber had already spent a chunk of it. Instagram showed she'd signed a lease on commercial space for her boutique, bought inventory, hired a designer. The money was gone, at least temporarily, which meant Richard would be in contempt of court. Which meant he'd face consequences, but that wasn't enough for me. I wanted more. 3 weeks after I filed the IRS report, Amber posted on Instagram, OMG, worst day ever. Being audited by the IRS? Like, what even is my life right now? I smiled at my phone. There it was. The IRS had received my report, investigated, and determined there was sufficient evidence of unreported income. Amber was being audited, which meant she'd have to explain where she got $185,000 to start a business, which meant she'd have to either claim it as income and pay taxes on it, or admit it was a gift, which meant Richard owed gift tax. Either way, someone owed the government money. A lot of money. I showed the post to Patricia at our next meeting. She laughed out loud. Victoria, you're diabolical. I'm thorough, I corrected. There's a difference. How did you know they wouldn't report the gift properly? Because Richard is arrogant and Amber is naive. He probably told her it was fine, that gifts between individuals aren't tracked, and she believed him because she's 28 and doesn't know better. And now she's being audited. I confirmed. Over the next few weeks, Amber's Instagram became a chronicle of her panic. Can't believe I have to hire a tax lawyer. This is so expensive. Why is the IRS doing this to me? I didn't do anything wrong. Then, the post I'd been waiting for. Richard, you said this was legal. You said there wouldn't be problems. Now look what's happening. Oh, trouble in paradise. Richard called me. First time since he'd left. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, and again. On the fourth call, I answered, What, Richard? Victoria, did you report us to the IRS? His voice was tight with barely controlled rage. I reported a suspected tax violation. It's my professional responsibility as a CPA. Bullshit. You did this to get back at me. I did this because you committed tax fraud. Whether you're my cheating ex-husband or a random stranger, fraud is fraud. Amber is freaking out. The IRS is saying she owes over $60,000 in taxes on the money I gave her. I did quick math in my head. $60,000 on $185,000. That tracked if they were treating it as income in the 32% tax bracket. Then she should pay it, I said calmly. It's the law. She doesn't have $60,000. She spent the money on her business. That sounds like a problem for her. And you, since you're the one who gave her unreported income. It was a gift, not income. Then you need to file a gift tax return and pay gift tax on it. Gifts over $18,000 require IRS reporting, Richard. You know this, or you should, given that you're married to a CPA. Silence. Then, how do I fix this? You pay the gift tax. That's about $37,000, by the way, at the 40% rate for gifts over your lifetime exemption amount. More silence. I don't have $37,000. Well, you had $186,000 3 weeks ago. Maybe you should have thought about the tax implications before you stole my inheritance to fund your midlife crisis. I hung up. Denise took me out for drinks that night to celebrate. You reported your cheating husband to the IRS. That is the most CPA revenge I've ever heard of. It's not revenge, I said, sipping my martini. It's compliance with federal tax law. Sure. And I'm the Queen of England. Denise raised her glass. To Victoria, who weaponized the tax code. To the tax code, I agreed, clinking my glass against hers. The most powerful weapon of all. The divorce proceedings continued. Richard was still in contempt for not returning the money to our joint account. Judge Chen was losing patience. Mr. Morrison, you were ordered to return the funds 30 days ago. Why has this not been done? Your Honor, the money has been spent. Then liquidate assets. Sell your car. Take a loan. I don't care how you do it. But you will return your wife's inheritance or you will spend time in jail for contempt. Richard's face went pale. Brad whispered frantically in his ear. Your Honor, my client needs time to secure financing. He's had a month. He has 1 more week. After that, I'm issuing a bench warrant. Richard sold his car, his beloved BMW that he'd bought to celebrate his promotion. He sold it to a dealership at a loss and transferred $45,000 to our joint account. It wasn't enough. Not even close, but it was something. Meanwhile, Amber's IRS situation was escalating. She'd hired a tax attorney, who'd apparently explained that she had 2 options: pay the $60,000 in taxes plus penalties and interest, or claim it was a gift and let Richard deal with the gift tax. She chose option 2. Smart girl. Which meant Richard now owed the IRS $37,000 in gift tax, plus penalties for filing late, plus interest. The total was closer to $45,000. Richard didn't have $45,000. He'd just spent his liquid cash buying his way out of contempt of court. The IRS doesn't care about your other financial obligations. They want their money. They sent Richard a letter. I know because he called me panicking. Victoria, please. I'm begging you. Tell the IRS this was a mistake. I can't do that. It wasn't a mistake. You gave Amber $186,000 without reporting it. That's tax fraud. I'll go to prison. Probably not for a first offense. But you'll definitely owe a lot of money, plus penalties. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stole from me. I didn't steal from you. It was our money. And yet you took all of it and gave it to your girlfriend. Funny how that works. He was crying now. Actually crying. Victoria, please. I'll do anything. I'll give you everything in the divorce. The house, my retirement, everything. Just make this go away. I paused. This was what I'd been waiting for. The desperation. The bargaining. The moment when he realized he destroyed his life for a 28-year-old who couldn't even afford to pay her own taxes. Richard, I can't make the IRS investigation go away. It's out of my hands. But here's what I can do. I can agree to a settlement in our divorce that's very favorable to me. You give me the house, your retirement accounts, and you agree to pay back the full amount you stole, with interest, over time. In exchange, I won't pursue additional damages for your financial fraud. But the IRS is a separate issue. You committed tax fraud. That's between you and the federal government. I can't help you there. You reported me. I reported a tax violation, which was true. If you'd filed properly, there wouldn't be a problem. More crying. God, it was pathetic. I've lost everything. My marriage, my money. Amber broke up with me when she found out about the tax bill. Amber broke up with you? I tried not to sound gleeful. Failed. She said I lied to her, that I told her the money was clean, that there wouldn't be legal issues. She's furious. Well, you did lie to her. You also lied to me for months. It's kind of your thing, apparently. Silence. Then quietly, I'm sorry, Victoria. For all of it. I was selfish and stupid, and I destroyed everything good in my life. Yes, I said simply. You did. We settled the divorce a week later. I got the house, valued at $420,000, fully paid off. Richard's retirement accounts, $230,000. Full custody of Max. Sophie was legally an adult. Richard's agreement to pay back the stolen $185,872.57 in monthly installments of $3,000 no alimony to Richard, despite him requesting it. Richard got his clothes, his personal items, a payment plan to the IRS that would take him years to pay off, a criminal record, misdemeanor for the late gift tax filing, with penalties. Judge Chen approved the settlement with barely concealed satisfaction. Mr. Morrison, You are extremely fortunate that your wife is willing to settle rather than pursue additional damages. Many judges would have awarded her far more given your egregious behavior. Do you understand the terms of this agreement? Yes, Your Honor, Richard mumbled. And do you understand that if you miss even one payment to Mrs. Morrison, she can come back to this court and I will throw you in jail? Yes, Your Honor. Good. This divorce is granted. You're dismissed. Patricia and I walked out of the courthouse into bright Charlotte sunshine. I felt lighter than I had in months. Free. How does it feel? Patricia asked. Like justice, I said. Expensive, complicated, time-consuming justice, but justice nonetheless. The IRS case took longer to resolve. Amber ended up having to close her boutique. She couldn't afford to keep it running while also paying back taxes. The inventory was sold at a loss. The commercial lease was broken with penalties. Everything she'd built with my money crumbled. I didn't feel bad for her. She'd knowingly gotten involved with a married man and accepted a massive sum of money without asking questions. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Richard's financial situation went from bad to worse. The IRS garnished his wages to pay off his tax debt. Combined with his monthly payments to me, he was living in a small apartment, driving a used Honda, eating ramen. His co-workers knew everything: the affair, the stolen money, the IRS investigation. His reputation was destroyed. He tried to date, but found that most women weren't interested in a 50-year-old divorcee with no assets and massive debt. Who knew? Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life. The house was mine, fully paid off. My inheritance was slowly being returned. My kids were okay, angry at their father, but okay. Sophie went back to UNC. Max focused on school and his friends. I threw myself into work, taking on more clients, building my CPA practice. Word got around about how I'd handled my divorce, and suddenly I had divorced women coming to me specifically, asking me to audit their ex-husband's finances for tax fraud. I became something of a specialist in post-divorce financial investigations. I started dating again, cautiously. A nice guy named Tom, who owned a bookstore, who thought my IRS revenge story was brilliant and terrifying in equal measure. We took things slow. I wasn't ready to trust quickly anymore. Maybe I never would be, but I was okay, more than okay. I had my house, my career, my kids, my independence. I had the satisfaction of watching Richard face consequences for his actions. Not just in divorce court, but in federal court. I had justice. About a year after everything settled, Denise and I were having our monthly lunch at our favorite bistro in Dilworth. She raised her wine glass in a toast to Victoria, who proved that the pen is mightier than the sword. Or in this case, the 3949A is mightier than the sword. I laughed. To the tax code. May it strike fear into the hearts of cheating spouses everywhere. Do you ever regret it? Denise asked. Reporting him to the IRS? Some people might say it was too far. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, Richard didn't just cheat on me. He stole my father's inheritance. The last thing my dad ever gave me. He planned it for months. He transferred it at 3 a.m. while I slept next to him. He gave it to another woman to start a business. That level of betrayal, that level of calculation, it deserved more than just a divorce. It deserved the IRS, Denise said, nodding. It deserved the IRS, I agreed. Some people think revenge is petty, that the high road means taking your lumps and moving on quietly. But sometimes the high road is making sure someone faces full consequences for their actions. Not out of spite, but out of principle. Richard didn't just wrong me personally. He committed fraud. Financial fraud against me. Tax fraud against the government. The IRS report wasn't revenge. It was accountability. And if that accountability happened to financially devastate him and his mistress, well, that was just a bonus. Sophie came home for Thanksgiving that year. We made turkey and stuffing and all the traditional sides. Max complained about having to set the table. Everything was beautifully, wonderfully normal. Over dinner, Sophie raised her glass of sparkling cider. Mom, I just want to say I'm proud of you for how you handled everything with Dad. You could have fallen apart, but instead you fought back smart. You taught me something important. What's that? I asked. That knowledge is power. That understanding systems, legal systems, tax systems, gives you tools to fight back when someone tries to destroy you. I want to be like you when I grow up." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Baby, you already are." Max rolled his eyes. "Can we stop being emotional and eat? I'm starving." We laughed and ate, and it was perfect. My little family, smaller now but stronger. We'd survived Richard's betrayal. We'd come through the other side. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and thought about everything that had happened. The discovery, the betrayal, the investigation, the divorce, the IRS, all of it. A year ago, I'd been devastated, destroyed, certain my life was over. Now, I was sitting in my fully paid-off house, with my inheritance being returned in monthly installments, with a thriving business and healthy kids, and a future that was entirely mine to shape. Richard, meanwhile, was living in a tiny apartment, paying off the IRS, paying me back, with no assets and no prospects and no Amber. The universe had balanced itself. Or maybe I'd balanced it, with a well-documented IRS report and an excellent divorce attorney. Either way, justice had been served. My phone buzzed. A text from Tom. "Thinking about you. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Coffee this week?" I smiled and texted back, "Definitely. Tuesday work?" Life was good. Different from what I'd planned, but good. Better maybe, because it was built on truth instead of lies. On my own strength instead of dependence on someone who'd proven himself unworthy. Richard had tried to destroy me financially and emotionally. Instead, he destroyed himself and I'd helped, with tax law, proper documentation, and the full force of the IRS behind me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just making sure the law is followed, and consequences are faced. And sometimes that's more satisfying than any revenge could ever be. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.